Remember that the first thing you need to do for this assignment, which is the planner cover, is to create a folder in your Google Drive. Log into Google Drive and select New Folder and call it Planner Cover. It's okay not to put a space in between these two, but always capitalize the second word when you do this. Then put your first initial and last name, and what period you have me for multimedia design. Now you have a place to put the files that you're going to download and research. In Google Classroom, all of the instructions are here. Download the attached file, which requires opening the assignment first, and then click on this. Notice that it already has your name on it. You're going to rename it to this because this is the naming convention that I've developed for our class. So after you download this one, don't worry about this message. Remember to go up here to the corner, select Open in New Window, and then download it. The reason it won't preview is because it's an Adobe Illustrator file. And Google doesn't recognize Adobe Illustrator. Now on your machine, the file name should show up down here at the bottom of the screen in the lower left corner. My computer's set up to automatically open up Adobe Illustrator. This red line is what's called a bleed. I've mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again. When you place your image in here, after you've done your research, make sure that it goes out to the edge of this red line. That way, when the cover is printed, they'll cut off the excess, and it'll look as though it was printed right up to the edge of the page. So remember, the first thing you're going to do is do File, Save As, type in Planner Cover, underscore first initial last name. Do not type in a student. This is your first initial and last name. Underscore period number. Period 1, period 6, or period 7 goes here. Put it on your desktop so that you can find it quickly and save it. That's the file that you're going to eventually upload into your Google Docs, Google Drive, excuse me. So now I'm going to tab back over here. I'm going to go back to Google Classroom, and I'm going to open up another tab. And do a Google search. I'm going to change the parameters on this. Click on Images. I'm going to type in background textures. You can do patterns. You can do a variety of different colors. You can do vector. Vector, remember, is more geometric shapes. I'm just going to leave it at textures for now. What you're going to do is go to Tools, Size, Larger Than, and this time we're going to go 2 megapixels. Notice how it says 1600 by 1200. That's quite a bit bigger than this one. Click on 2 megapixels. It will limit your files to very large files. Then find a background that you like for the planner cover. If you want to add a theme to it, like creativity, it'll give you different backgrounds. So you can add a keyword up here, and that will change based on the keywords that you've added. Notice where it says Shutterstock here. This is going to put a watermark into your assignment or into your product. This one is limited to visual art, so it doesn't have any of the other arts that we do here, none of the dance, none of the music, etc. Just keep in mind that every time you see Shutterstock, that it's going to have a watermark on it. Notice how big this file is, 8500 by 5500. That's a massive image. Please don't download this and then put it on your Google Drive. Try and limit it to the original size, larger than 1600 by 1200. So keep in mind when you're adding these backgrounds, look down here, this is another very large one. $3,800 by 2561. Now, this is going to be new. You won't recognize this because Google recently changed this. You have to save the bookmark first. It no longer says View Image over here. So click Save on the one you want to use, and then click on View Saved, and it will give you a list of recent things that you've saved. Click here, and click Visit. This is going to take you to whomever owns this image. We're just using these for mock-ups for the time being, so don't worry about what we're going to eventually do with it. Be careful what you click in here. Make sure that the download button is for the image and not some advertisement, because you don't want to get off base on a lot of this. And it's going to be really easy to do on some of these sites. So click Download. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is not the image. Close this window. Go back to Visit. And let's see where the actual download button is. It may be necessary to Control-click on it and select Open Image in New Window. This is the actual image. And again, you can see how big it is when you click on it. That's a really large image. Hold the Control key down, click on the image, select Save Image As. If you have one of the black mice, you can do the right mouse click instead. Again, save it to your desktop. I'm just going to use this one image for this demonstration. So I'm going to close Safari. I'm going to go back into Adobe Illustrator. I've already saved my file. To get the image in here, I'm going to select File, Place. My image is on the desktop. It's a really long named image here. So I'm going to click on here and select Place. Now that image is almost big enough if you wanted to have a vertical cover to cover the space, but notice how it doesn't go up and all the way down here. Hold the Shift key down, put the cursor on one of the corners, and make the image large enough to get up to the edge of that red line there and down to that red line on the bottom down here. Don't worry about all the excess for now. If you want to get rid of it, a quick way to do it visually is to select the rectangle tool and click and drag a rectangle over just the red area. Go right up next to the edge. Don't worry about what color that rectangle is. Click the selection tool, hold the Shift key down so that you now have both objects selected. Go to Object, Clipping Mask, Make. What that did was, the image is actually still all in there, but it cropped it to this area. Anytime you see this little asterisk up here next to the file name, that means you haven't saved in a while. Hold the Command key down and hit the letter S. Don't worry about this message. If it continues to give you this message, do File Save As, and then overwrite the file. Now I'm going to ask you to do this also. This is your Layers menu. Click on Layers. Lock this layer so that this no longer can be moved. And create a new layer by clicking here. Notice how it says Create New Layer. Anytime you hover over a tool, it's going to tell you what that tool is and what it does. So I'm going to create a new layer, and then I'm going to add the text that needs to go on your planner cover. At the very least, it needs to have the year. Remember, next year is 2018 to 2019. I'm going to click on the selection tool and make it large. You can change the font by going into Type, Font. Choose any type you like. This is your design. And then if it doesn't work well, this shows up, but it doesn't really work with this image. Go ahead and change the type, color to whatever color makes sense to you. Give it some contrast. Probably want to go a little bit darker with whichever color you use. And then add the rest of the type. The other type that goes on here is Creative, Performing, Media Arts. If you want to add middle school, you can add middle school as well. You don't have to keep this same type for everything, but it's not a bad idea. If you want to switch it up though, just select the type. Go to Type, Font, and then choose another type. If you want to know what other type goes on the front cover, just open up the front cover of your planner and see what's on there currently. The current one has the letters CPMA on it. I'm just going to copy. I like this typeface. It's very bold. I'm going to copy it and paste it. Then I'm going to triple click on it and type in CPMA. You can use the uppercase, lowercase, however you want to do it. This is your design. If you want to change the font to this one to make it 3 different fonts, size it up, size it down. We can work with the details later. The only other thing that is going to be required on this is on yours. I'm going to copy this text and paste it, because on your design, I want you to actually put on here, designed, cover design by, put a colon in there, and then type your name. Please don't type a student. Since this doesn't work down here, I'm going to change this type to white. Also, don't make this very prominent. Right now it's pretty large. You do want it to be able to be seen, but this needs to take a back seat to the rest of this type. Right now it stands out pretty big. So play around with this today, save it. If it keeps giving you that error message, click Save As instead. Click on the desktop and save. When it asks you to replace it, replace it. And click OK. Now, here's something that a lot of students have missed in the past. After you quit Adobe Illustrator, go back to Google Drive and upload your files here. Click on New, File Upload. And what I'm trying to tell you on this is you need your Adobe Illustrator file, but you also need this background. It's better to save a bunch of backgrounds first into your Google Drive. But go ahead and upload these items. You'll notice it's going to take a little while longer for this to load on some of your computers because this is a very large image. This one's pretty big too. It's actually taking a little bit longer because it has the image inside of it. But if you don't save this image in your Google Drive, when I open it up later, it won't preview. So that's all you need to be concerned about today. Please make sure to log out of the account before you go. If you've borrowed headphones to watch this demonstration, please return them to the box in the back and put them inside the box, inside the plastic bags.